What's going on out there, world? It's your boy Tommy on the spot for Watchalong Wrestling. It is so great to be here with each and every one of you. Happy New Year, happy 2024, best of luck in all of those New Year's resolutions. And I'm so excited to be here today because it is the debut of a brand new concept right here on the Watchalong Wrestling YouTube channel. It's going to be Mount Rushmore Mondays, where every single week we're going to debate the greatest in the world of pro wrestling. It could be anything from best WrestleManias to greatest calls to best theme songs, whatever it is, we're going to talk about them, the top four each and every week. And if you're not sure what Mount Rushmore is, if you've never been to Pennington County, South Dakota, don't worry, I've got you covered. I'll explain the way that I look at a Mount Rushmore as we're about to get into this here. So for me, I consider Mount Rushmore not necessarily to be my personal favorites, right? I can give you my favorite for everything. That's not necessarily what I consider to be. My favorite is not necessarily a Mount Rushmore. To me, I consider Mount Rushmore to be the most iconic four of any particular topic. These are the four that if somebody were to come up to you on the street and say, hey, I've never seen a particular match, you could say, all right, well, I'll give you my top four matches. These are the matches I want you to go home and I want you to see, and you'll really understand the concept. These are the four that represent this particular topic, whatever it is that we're discussing for the week, the absolute best. And this week, since it is January, since it is a brand new month, we're going to be talking about all things Royal Rumble matches. That's right. The Royal Rumble is obviously a tradition each and every year for WWE at the end of January. And so I figured why not start things off by looking at the Mount Rushmore of Royal Rumble matches. Now, this is not the entire event, right? I think that's really a lot different if you consider. I think of a great Royal Rumble event, Royal Rumble 2000. Royal Rumble 2000 match isn't exactly the best, but the show itself is loaded. For what we're doing today, we're only talking about matches. And I've opened this up. It could be any sort of match. It doesn't need to be the matches that were on the pay-per-view. We could look at some TV special matches. We could look at, the greatest Royal Rumble there from Saudi Arabia. Anything is eligible for this particular topic. We're just talking about Royal Rumble matches, and it can be any that are in the span, but we're looking for four. And for me, I'm going to start with the Royal Rumble 1992, perhaps the most iconic. This Royal Rumble was absolutely loaded. When you take a look at the amount of talent that was in this thing, Shawn Michaels, Rowdy Roddy Piper, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, who'd obviously go on to win it, Sid Justice, Hulk Hogan, the list goes on and on. If you go and watch this, it is an absolute masterclass in all of WWE. It's like they took all the iconic WWE wrestlers and they put them in the match. And the reason for that is because it's the first Royal Rumble that was actually for the WWE Championship. And not only that, but this was also the first Royal Rumble where somebody were to start in the first five and went on to win the damn thing. Yes, you'd have a couple of Iron Man performances in those earlier Royal Rumbles. I remember Ted DiBiase doing a really great job. The model Rick Martel had a great showing, but nobody had gone all the way. That's why in the beginning of this match, when Gorilla Monsoon talks about Ric Flair entering at number 3, I think he says something like, what a great bet it would be that none of these people will be there in the end. Speaking of Gorilla Monsoon, he teams up with Bobby the Brain Heenan here, and this is one of these where a great match is amplified by some of the best commentary you will ever hear in your life. Bobby the Brain Heenan is a major supporter of the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and he does a great job in really kind of embodying the peril that Ric Flair is in throughout the entire portion of this match. At the end of the day, when I'm looking at a Royal Rumble, you've got to have a great winner. At the time, I think a lot of people expected that Hulk Hogan would go in, he'd knock 29 other son-of-a-guns over the top rope, and he'd reclaim the WWE Championship. That's kind of just what happened back in the day. But not here. Instead, Ric Flair outlasted everyone, outlasted the odds, and ended up winning his first WWE Championship in this very match. It's a great match. It's iconic. It certainly belongs on the Mount Rushmore of Royal Rumble matches. And then to boot, he has one of the most iconic post-match promos backstage, talking about how he did it with a tear in his eye. The greatest day in the history of his life. Moving right along here, I'm going to go with the Royal Rumble match from 2001. To me, this is just the greatest of all of the Royal Rumbles from the Attitude Era. I think it stands the test of time. You've got so many great moments throughout this entire Royal Rumble, starting with a showcase of the Hardcore Division, which was a real staple of the Attitude Era. You have all of your cast of characters in there, from Steve Blackman to Al Snow to Raven. You have all of them showcased really well here in the Royal Rumble match. You've got an iconic moment featuring Drew Carey that got him all the way into the WWE Hall of Fame, and I think does a really good job in showcasing the best way to utilize a celebrity. You have an amazing Iron Man in Kane, who I still, to this day, say really should have won this damn match. He could have easily taken the title off him at No Way Out and still gotten a Stone Cold versus The Rock, but I think sometimes you have to pivot, and Kane just had so much momentum, had one of the most amazing performances in Royal Rumble history. He does a great job here. Aside from that, you've got all of your big guns in there. You've got Stone Cold Steve Austin, you've got The Rock, you've got The Undertaker, The Big Show. So many big names that come in there towards the end. It's a who's who of people who legitimately could have gone on to win that thing. Also in this one, you've also got some really great surprise entries, and it's one of the first Royal Rumbles that I could remember the surprises. You've got Honky Tonk Man, who comes out of nowhere, gets blasted by his guitar, even though he gets to do a little bit of his iconic songs. Then you have at the end Haku. I mean, who the heck expected Haku to make a return here in the Royal Rumble? It was kind of an idea as to what was to come for future Royal Rumbles where anything simply can happen, and it's one of the greatest ones for me. Not to mention, you got to throw Stone Cold the bone here. He's won 3 Royal Rumbles, and this was his last Royal Rumble that he won. So at the end of the day, I think a solid winner creates a great Royal Rumble, and that is why 2001 Royal Rumble is right on my Mount Rushmore. Moving right along, I'm going to go just 7 years later, the first Royal Rumble that I attended live. You knew the match would be here, Royal Rumble 2008. This one is amazing. Right in the Mecca of New York City, Madison Square Garden. Not only, now this one is remembered for the incredible return of John Cena, coming back from tearing his pectoral in just 3 months when most people thought he'd be out for a year, changing up everybody's thoughts as to where WrestleMania was going to be going. And it was the night Madison Square Garden forgot that they hated John Cena. The place just erupted when he made his return, and it's an incredible moment that also had me practicing how to take my shirt off with just one hand. But aside from that, this Royal Rumble's amazing. You have it start off with Michael Buffer. I believe it's the only time Michael Buffer came in and did the Let's Get Ready to Rumble right at the heart of Madison Square Garden. He does it by introducing The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. So you have the two most iconic wrestlers who at the time were building to a feud over several years to get to their iconic match at WrestleMania 25. You're getting a little bit of a taste each year. And oh, by the way, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker were the two that ended the Royal Rumble match in 2007, and now here they were kicking things off right where they left off in 2008. It's a really great way to kick things off. From there, you've got some really cool surprises from a standpoint of Madison Square Garden. Mick Foley makes an appearance in this match. There's a little cool stare down with him and Triple H, who obviously had their great WWE Championship match at the Royal Rumble just 8 years prior at Madison Square Garden. So that's just such a great moment. Then from there, you also have surprise appearances by Rowdy Roddy Piper and Superfly Jimmy Snuka. And they're so surprising that even the wrestlers in the ring take a minute to acknowledge how awesome the moment is when these guys come out back to back and have a moment there in the ring. This has nostalgia. This has surprise guests. This has an amazing winner in John Cena that was a complete shock that nobody had. And I will say that John Cena's appearance as number 30 has changed the Royal Rumble forever. The entire point of the Royal Rumble now is really to see who these amazing surprises are. The reason why every single year we look at whether or not Kazuchika Okada or Kenny Omega may make an appearance at the Royal Rumble is because John Cena did it in 2008. This match, the Royal Rumble 2008, certainly belongs on our Mount Rushmore. All right, so before I get to my choice for the final Royal Rumble match to join our Mount Rushmore, let's take a look at some that just missed the cut. The first one that came to my mind here was actually the Royal Rumble 1995. Now, this is not a great Royal Rumble, but it is iconic. It's the first time that somebody ran the entire Royal Rumble from number 1 and went all the way to win and go on to do so. Not only that, but Shawn Michaels and the British Bulldog were the final 2 men in this Royal Rumble, and they were also numbers 1 and 2. Aside from that, though, there isn't much more to this Royal Rumble. The entrances are sped up, so it's about a minute interval between each person. The roster is paper thin back in 1995. And so even though the performance by Shawn Michaels and the British Bulldog is iconic, that is why this match misses our Mount Rushmore. Moving right along, the Royal Rumble match from 2007. This is the first Royal Rumble match that has such a great finish in terms of the final 2, going an additional 10 minutes. Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. Either man could have won this match. Both go on to get a title match at WrestleMania. Could have gone either way. At the end, it was The Undertaker, and that's also iconic because he is the first number 30th entry to go ahead and win the Royal Rumble. So I wanted to put that there, but I ended up going against it because other than those top two, it's not the best Royal Rumble match. There's a lot in there featuring the ECW brand, which didn't have a lot of steam behind it, and it's not, by any means, in my opinion, a great match. So we didn't go for it. Next up on the list of Royal Rumble 2010, another one I was at. This one's great. This is the one that felt just, if you could have added a fifth head on Mount Rushmore, this would have made my list. This is an iconic Royal Rumble for me for a number of reasons. First, you've got the great piece of the Rumble that's dictated by CM Punk, where he's the straight edge savior. He's leading the straight edge society, and he cuts a promo on each person. It's the first time I can remember somebody really going out of their way to cut a promo. I know Austin kind of did this in '97, but he didn't have a mic with him. This was a really good showcase for CM Punk. He gets the Diesel spot, and he gets to talk to all the different people who come in, and it's really nice. I like it. You also have Beth Phoenix becoming the second woman to enter the Royal Rumble after Chyna. She has a fun spot with the Great Khali in this one. An amazing story throughout the entire match when it comes to Shawn Michaels trying to do everything he can in a state of desperation to get the win so he could challenge The Undertaker for the title at WrestleMania and get that second straight Mania match with The Undertaker. And you also got an iconic, great winner, a big return here for Edge at number 29. A lot of people didn't expect him for a lot longer. He came back early from his injury and goes on to win the match. It's a great one. It's one that I thoroughly enjoy, and I was there for. I made the trip from New York to Atlanta for it, so it certainly could have been on the list. It has everything, but it just misses because I felt you either were going to do 2008 or 2010, and since Cena's return was the first one, I went with 2008. All right, and now the final member of our Mount Rushmore of Royal Rumble matches. I'm going to the Women's Royal Rumble from 2018. That's right, the inaugural Women's Royal Rumble certainly is iconic and definitely belongs on our Mount Rushmore. This, for me, is a really cool situation where basically the Women's Revolution had started back in the summer of 2015, and here they are just 2.5 years later, main eventing the Royal Rumble with a Royal Rumble match of their own. The match itself does a really good job in appreciating the history of the women's division by having Trish Stratus, Jacqueline, Lita, and Beth Phoenix represent the Women's Hall of Famers who have been in this match, and then Kairi Sane and Ember Moon representing NXT and the future of the women's division by having representation in the match as well. All throughout the match, aside from that, you have some of the biggest women that are currently in WWE. Match starts off with Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch going one-on-one, and then Sasha Banks does the Iron Woman, goes all the way, and almost wins the darn thing, lasting over 54 minutes. At the end of the day, this also has an amazing winner in Asuka, who had been undefeated going into this Royal Rumble, and I think some folks expected that maybe she'd lose in this match and they just wouldn't count it as a loss. Not the case with Asuka. She won every single thing she was in. She was straight up undefeated when it came to the Royal Rumble, ends up winning the Royal Rumble, and then you have this iconic ending. I think one of the best endings ever in all of WWE's pay-per-views, where you have Asuka now looking at both champions. She's in the ring. Stephanie McMahon calls her in the ring. Has both champions there. You've got Charlotte Flair, you've got Alexa Bliss, Asuka in the center, WrestleMania sign pointing, and then boom, who should come out but Ronda Rousey at the time when Ronda Rousey is one of the biggest stars in the world. It was incredible. Yes, I was there. Maybe I was a little biased, but I think it certainly belongs on the Royal Rumble matches Mount Rushmore. Let me know where I got things wrong. Let me know if you agree with me, and we'll be back next week with another Royal Rumble themed Mount Rushmore. Won't give anything further away. But until next time, everyone, thanks so much. We'll see you real soon.